Multiple sclerosis is a chronic inflammatory condition affecting the central nervous system.
Being with someone who has MS, you have to have a lot of patience. You have to have a lot of faith.
It's difficult to diagnose until I was even in Mount Hope Hospital for about 3 weeks.
See, I was sitting here, all of a sudden it feel like somebody trying to pound some needles or a nail on their foot. And that is so painful.
Unfortunately, there is no cure for MS at this point in time.
MS creeps upon you. So I had one attack, and by 4 years after that, I had the second attack, and then they said yes to MS.
Good morning, it's Tuesday, it's August 23rd, 2022. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for joining us and staying with us as you do thus far on the program. This is WESN, this is Amplia. This is what we're dealing with this morning. We're starting, well, in terms of the rundown, let's go from the back and come forward. We're talking with Dr. Colwick Wilson. He's the president of the University of the Southern Caribbean. They're observing the 95th anniversary. We're going to talk with him about that journey from then to now. We're also talking with Mr. Kevin Ramnarayan, an economist, on what is said to be the worst period of economic traction in the country in our recorded history. We're also talking with Anna Maria Mora. She's a counseling psychologist, and the situation reported in the papers in the last 24 hours about the death of this baby. Right now with us, Mr. Alan Ferguson, the president of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. You know what the story is based on the reporting over the last couple of days stemming from the government's decision to ban exports of scrap iron out of the country for 6 months. What the reactions to that have been. Mr. Ferguson, good morning.
Good morning to you, Andy, and good morning to your viewers.
Okay, so tell us where you come in on at this juncture in these developments.
Well, what our association have planned based on the government have shut down our industry, the export part, for 6 months. We decided that we'll have a motorcade. This motorcade will start by Brian Lara Stadium in Turuba, and it will start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we will move on to the highway, and we will go straight up the highway, and we will make a left by the interchange by Mount Hope Hospital, going to the Eastern Main Road, going down to Sawa, and from Sawa we will straight to Port of Spain, and we will pass through Port of Spain, and then we will hit Rising Road and go across by Power Gen, and we will go straight in the Savannah, and there we will spend probably about half an hour to talk to our members and other guests, you know, because we have people like the trade union movements, we have a lot of different organizations supporting us, and a lot of civil society people also joining us, and a lot of supporters, because this industry reach a lot of people. Not only the scrap iron people alone, it reach other people, meaning that it will reach people, just sell us a lot of different items. So you have to know this industry meet a lot of thousands and thousands of people. I think the government underestimate us. I think they did not consider when we told them, please work with us and let us shut down the export part of this industry to able to stop the theft that taking place with TSCT and other things.
So is that not what the government has done? They are suspending exports for 6 months?
No. What they did, they shut down all the export, every single thing in this industry. when you would have asked them just for the copper, because we had an issue with the copper months ago, not now, months ago, they were able to, they didn't take the advice. Now, what they do, this industry is export a lot of different items out of Trinidad. Recycling items like brass, copper, aluminum, steel, batteries, you name it, copper, all type of thing we export out of Trinidad. So you have to understand, when you shut down every single thing, that's the end. That's the end of our industry.
So you mean people can't pick up on the other side of these 6 months? That's you saying that will cripple the industry for good?
Yeah, but himself you pick up. You know, when you work and you want to sell, you can't just pick up for 6 months and do nothing. I mean, himself just is a company that have whatever it is, a big company and all. They can't hold up that for 6 months. No company could do that.
What is a better way to fix this situation that you all want to get fixed? What is a better way to do it?
Andy, let me explain to you. I had to sit down with them, and I could mention this to you. Let me explain what was going on, and this is what I said. The scrap iron industry, when you see containers go to the port, sometimes the people who was exporting the copper, because this is just a few people have the license, and other people was using the scrap, saying it's scrap going in the port, which is copper. Now, if they use the scanner, if they was using the scanner, they were not able to see what material coming in. So people would not be able to slip through, because you know in Trinidad everybody knows somebody. So if they was using the scanner, they would not see these copper would not be going through the port. And recently, a container copper went to Point Lisas, and it had the documents had steel in it. And when they used the scanner, the steel was copper. You know what they do, Andy? They allow that container to come back out and go back to the yard without doing anything. And how you want to blame us for things that you're supposed to see about, and you're not doing things about it? You can't watch an organization, an industry like this, and feel that you will get everybody honest in it, because
but you remember the period in which you were clamoring for this meeting with the government, with the Prime Minister and others, right? So now now that has happened, and what the government is proposing is not what you want to support.
And the thing about it, we had a meeting with them, and we give them ideas, we give them proposal what they could do, and before they could even come back to us, they put on the ban. They didn't give us this information. We start to roll out the plans that we tell them we're going to start to do to our members. Why is we rolling out the plan to come and they ban the industry? In 2 weeks good. We rolling out the plan and trying to get our members to try to follow the plan that we go in. And information going to them, you see, sometimes when you're misinformed by some people in Trinidad sometimes, because some people feel and know everything. And when you're misinformed, that is what went on.
So you mean the government is getting information from other people, you say, who are operating not in the best interests of the industry and of your membership?
You know who will I be giving them? The same people who shipping out the copper might not be giving them information. So if you shipping out copper, you don't want I don't know. You see, I don't want to talk this morning in reference to some of these things, but I could just tell you that the people probably they're taking information from my intelligence, and based on people in the industry, based on information coming to me, Andy, is people who, the same people they're taking information from is the same people sending out the copper out of the country. You could understand that. And the same people who you feel is big, the same people you feel that big is the same people sending out the copper out of Trinidad. So you could understand that. So we find ourselves in a problem that we had gone to all different parts of the country for the last week, informing our members, listen to me, this is a time for we to stick together, be together, because this is our industry, and Whilst we wait for 6 months, anything could happen. We could lose our industry. My information based on documents that I have and all the things that the government want to do, majority of the yard will be able to operate based on what the government want to implement for this industry. That will be the end
do you
of
expect
small yards.
do you expect that the turnout you would get for this demonstration would cause the government to change its mind?
Well, Andy, in life, all we have to do is keep on coming. And this is not about one plan we have. This is not about a plan for a rally alone. It will be constant thing. Because you see, these people who are involved in this rally, Andy, these people who depend on this industry each and every single day. They don't have nothing else in you. We can't go and find no work. The people who are in the industry, you check it out. Listen to me.
And therefore, they're not in a position to hold some strain, if you want to put it that way.
No. They can't. You can't go and tell the bank when you owe for a vehicle, a van. You can't go and tell the bank wait for 6 months. If you owe on your mortgage, your house, you can't go and tell the bank wait for 6 months. And if you are to feed your children, you can't go and tell the grocery, give me some grocery until 6 months, Andy. You can't do that. We can't do that. And there's a lot of people in this way that we have to be holding up and bracing.
Right, so
look at the people in Clacks, Andy.
All right, so we got to go. We got to just remind us when the demonstration is planned for again. It's tomorrow.
Yes, the demonstration plan, the motorcade that we will have, well, we say it will start at Brian Lara Stadium at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it will move on to the highway, straight to the highway, up to the Mount Hope Medical Hospital, and then it will move left to Port of Spain area, the Eastern Main Road, and then it will go to Port of Spain, go into Port of Spain, go out, come out in Rising Road, go to Power Gen, straight to the Savannah. Then we will spend about an hour, 45 minutes talking to our members. This day is a day we ask our members, please, to listen to the instructions that the mic system will be giving out. We don't want nobody to be, this is a industry, and this motorcade. We don't want people drinking, and we will have things like people losing their head when people when they're drinking, they lose their head and do something. We want to have a disciplined rally.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Ferguson, Alan Ferguson, President of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. That demonstration, he says, from Point Lisas into Port of Spain and up to the Queen's Park Savannah, the top of Port of Spain. Thank you very much. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, counseling psychologist Anna Maria Mora on the tragedy that took place with this baby and her mother. Stay with us.
Welcome to the American University of Barbados School of Medicine. We offer 2 comprehensive MD programs, 5.5-year program for high school finishers, and 4-year program for college graduates.
The American University of Barbados has been accredited with the Barbados Accreditation Council, BAC, and has been accredited
by CAMHP.
as the medical school has affiliate hospitals at Baltimore and Chicago in the USA and the Caribbean islands.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best laugh laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best. I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in-depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the content capital.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive, it is not rehabilitative.
We the police officers, we are professional and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole, is for all of us in public.
I'm joined on set today with Dr. Chelsea Garcia. She's a palliative specialist as well as internal medicine doctor as well as hospice care.
Palliative is for anyone with serious illness, whereas hospice is for someone that may die in the next 6 months. Now, unfortunately, because people confuse the word palliative with hospice, we see a lot of patients presenting late in the course of their illness.
So the first part about holding on the stick is knowing how to hold it. You're only allowed to play with the flat side of the stick. So the ball is not allowed to hit the back of your stick whatsoever.
What's up, Doc? Tuesdays and Thursdays here on WESN, Content Capital.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time. All right, so welcome back. We'll be joined now by counseling psychologist Anna Maria Morris. She's one of those persons who's read through the papers yesterday, and we want to get a reaction from her as to what she makes of this tragedy of this 7-year-old child whose life her own mother snuffed out. What's the issue here? Where do we start to try and find out what went wrong behind it? Good morning, Anna.
Hi, good morning, Andy.
All right, good to see you. Well, good, thanks. Good to see you. You said when you read some of the details, at least those that were published in the paper about this thing, it left you with a sinking feeling. Can you begin to talk about that? What do you think happened here?
Yes, I was at a party and I saw the Sunday Express looking at me. I said, let me check this Express, and that was the front page. And it brought me to kind of teary-eyed because this is happening too often. The mother of the child had her, I think, at 17. Obviously, we still do not have the systems in place to deal with underage children who are interfered with by, well, I don't know who the father of the child is, but we still do not have things in place to deal with the men who do girls this. And I mean, she was from Paliseco. She's probably very simple. May have dropped out of school. There was no safety net for her. You know, those are some of the things that we are still lacking. I saw where there is another parenting program launched last night on the news. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, it's in the paper this morning. This baby was left in a can outside the hospital.
There are parenting programs in every ministry's office is coming up. There's one in Tunapuna upstairs. There's National Family Services and Arima. And you know, there was one, well, they probably still have it, but the office is not on Independence Square South anymore. Parenting programs, inviting parents to come. I don't know if they not realizing that they are starting in the wrong place. I worked with teenagers. I still work with them over 30 years, and all of them tell me, not without one, I mean, there might be one whose parents are very open and, you know, discuss things with them, and they have family meetings and stuff. But the other 7 don't even bother now because it goes in one ear and comes out the other ear missed. So, I mean, since 2014, I've been working with teenagers about their sexuality, making choices, their future. I mean, I use that the only way to predict the future is to create it for yourself.
Yeah,
and they are old enough to understand what they need to do for success. Right? I had an article since 2014 from the Newsday that fewer American teens are engaging in sex. They did a study and found out how many young men and young women, teenagers between 13 and 17 have stopped, you know, because they are given a purpose in life. They are worked with to find their purpose, that there's a reason for their birth. I will never forget, Andy, that when I was a guidance officer at Barrett Senior Com, I was summoned to the principal's office to help him with an irate parent. On my way to the office, there's this young man, he was in Form 4, sitting, trying to disappear into the chair he was sitting in. He was curled up in the lobby of the office. So I told the staff to tell the principal, I'm coming just now. I have something out here that I'm dealing with. When I went to the young man and I said, what is the matter, son? What is the matter? And he just started to cry, and he said, why she born me if she didn't want me? That is what he said. Why she born me, he didn't know how to say it, you know, in proper English. But why she born me if she didn't want me? So, you know, I have to for that. Well, he had to come into the office and we would have, you know, dealt with it, but he was like about already, he was in Form 4, but he was already maybe 5, 6. So, you know, he is a tall young man, and he has to understand why he's working at age, because obviously he's not being treated well at home, and there are many, many teenagers who were born, I always say by chance, because some of they say they don't know how it happened. I am not sure. Maybe they really don't know how it happened. When you ask them about the children, they don't know how it happened.
So
maybe
what
they
do you,
don't.
Yeah. So
Because
what do
we
you,
do
what
not help them to understand their sexuality.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
You're saying that to make a connection between that and those experiences and what has happened here. There are people who are saying that the lady, the mother, we fail her somehow. She'd had this other baby who was born stillborn, and from some of the readings, it suggests that she never properly recovered from that, and this is lingering. My own understanding of it, this what you call lingering postpartum depression, you think?
And yes, I mean, you see, and the abandonment after getting pregnant, if the father of the child just disappeared, he did what he had to do, satisfied himself, and disappeared. And she had no. You saw the picture where this child lived.
Yeah.
Andy.
Yeah. Where
yeah. No social worker. Nobody. These parents in Palo Seco must never hear about Children's Authority. Somebody to call for help. They were trying to help in their own limited way, and you know. There's no phone, they living like they're living in the forest. I mean, we need to boost the social services. We do not have enough. You have one guidance officer for 5 schools, Andy, in this 2022.
Yeah,
one day a week. If it's 5 days in the week and you have 5 schools, what can you do in one day visiting a school?
Yeah, and some of the reports say that she had.
Some of these things we have to revisit the process of abortion. Not abortion. Sorry, Lord. Adoption. We have to visit and simplify the adoption process. The adoption process is very, very complicated and could be frustrating for the person who is trying to adopt a child. That might be somebody, I know they're going to tell you how to do your job now. That might be somebody that you would need to, to interview. Because the process is very, very, I know it has to be, they have to be very careful with it about who's adopting this child, where, what, why, and when. But it takes too long.
Yeah, what do you think will happen in this case, or what do you think should happen?
Have the manpower to move things along. They've been trying to reorganize Children's Authority for a while. I'm not sure what is going on, but we have to look at people who live in rural communities, because there are a lot of children, young people, girls there who are having babies, and nobody knows them.
All right. So in these circumstances, what do you suggest should be the way forward for people in authority? What you see being the fate of this young lady at this point?
Well, she needs a lot of help. Is no longer. I mean, I'm a counseling psychologist. I deal with normal and inverted commas people who have a temporary break in transmission, so that to bring them on track. Parents who cannot accept their child is 15, going into or in secondary school, still trying to treat them like 5 years old as if they are 5. Those are normal issues that we can deal with. But she is past normal now, Andy. She's past normal. She has to have a serious intervention. She needs to be assessed. I mean, we have, I guess, the St. Anne's in the summers, but she needs to be assessed and taken somewhere where she will get attention, the kind of attention she needs. A clinical assessment. I don't do assessment. There are people, clinical psychologists, who do psychological assessment, that they would be able to say exactly what is wrong with her, what is going on with her, and people wouldn't be guessing as to maybe she this and maybe she that. She has to be assessed. Somebody has to go Paliseco and get her because it looks like they have no phones. You know, and the Trinidad and Tobago in this, I mean, I remember, I'm not pulling his name, but anyway, somebody came to do a he did the address in the 2019 or 2020, the Pan-African Day. And he lamented at the end of his talk that Trinidad and Tobago had so much money and we have so much poor people, so many poor people. I sat and I listened to him, and this man is not from Trinidad, but I mean, he spoke the truth.
Yeah.
And that was since the pandemic, of course, made everything worse, when we should have been employing more social workers to do home visits and what have you. That they need to get into the homes.
All right.
In my training abroad, that was what I did.
Yeah.
That I started there so I would understand what the process is. Visit homes. I was in charge of 30 young men who I had to make sure I worked with every month. Right? And you know there are 30 days in the year, in a month.
All right, so what you're saying is that there's lots of work to be done here. We don't have the best of communications on at this point, but I get to what you're saying. There's a lot of work to be done here. If
there
this young
is a lot of work to be done. There are people who are trained, I know, but apparently, I'm going to lose some friends here, I guess, but whatever. You know, you get your training in, let's say, social work, and then you decide that all you want to do is sit down in an office and deal with paper. When you should be out there visiting homes, there might be some who do it, you know, but that's what you need to be doing. I had 30 young men, and I had to visit homes of the 30 young men in Queens, Brooklyn. Okay? And I had to visit them at least once a month, and every 3 months I had to write a report on that. I give some kind of, you know, of my tenure. What did I do for the past month?
All right. I'm afraid we're gonna have to.
Parents and take them upstate.
Yeah, we're gonna have to suspend the conversation.
But it was way upstate. So you go to the project, pick up the parent, and take them upstate to a meeting. You know, those kinds of things.
Yes.
I don't know. We are not organizing our system to make it helpful to people, to our citizens.
All right. I'm afraid we're gonna have to leave it there. Thank you very much for helping us out and understand the context we're talking about here. Thank you very much, Anna Maria Mora, on this issue. There's lots to talk about and lots to get to where we are, from where we are at the moment. Let's take a look around the region. Let's begin that look around the region. We have Kevin Ramner right up ahead. We're looking at Jamaica now, where the PNP leader wants a senator fired over teacher migration, what is called a teacher migration crisis. We get this from Jamaica News Today.
Former People's National Party PNP Senator Wentworth Scaffrey says Education Minister Favour Williams should be sacked over what he claims is her incompetent handling of the crisis stemming from the migration of teachers to lucrative jobs overseas. I call on Andrew Holness because he was a former Minister of Education. Him never good, you know, but him little better than the one we have now to rescue the education system, save our children and get rid of Favour Williams right now and put little competence in the Ministry of Education. He played it to the Prime Minister at the party's Manchester North Western Constituency Conference at the Mile Gully Primary School on Saturday. President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Linvern Wright, has said a sense of dread has engulfed principals who are now scrambling with their boards to see how the blow can be cushioned in time for the start of the new school year on September 5. He said it's difficult to provide an accurate figure of the number of teachers leaving, although reports suggest it could be upwards of 400. Approximately 25,074 teachers were employed by the government in 2021, according to the 2021 Economic and Social Survey published in June. However, Williams has repeatedly downplayed the concerns, saying there was no data to suggest a cause for alarm. She told the Nationwide News last week that almost 1,000 specialized teachers are leaving training institutions this year. However, Skeffrey, a former teacher, has joined his party critics, asserting that the minister needs to be more aggressive in addressing the shortage of teachers. We have a minister of education. When I hear her talk, tears come on my eye. She don't have no clue about education. She don't understand the system, he said. The principal them said the teachers them have left the thing left, right and center. And the Minister of Education said nothing no go so. I didn't know that. He continued, adding, you know why she said that? Because she don't understand the system. Because the first set of persons we're going to know when teachers are leave are the board chairman and the principal. Teachers don't resign to the Ministry of Education. Last week, opposition spokesperson on education, Senator Damian Crawford, described the increased migration patterns of teachers from Jamaica as a clear and present danger. He said the minister has indicated that the number of teachers leaving the classroom was in line with global standards. However, he is of the view that, over time, the number of teachers employed will deplete by approximately 30% in 10 years and 60% in 20 years. The president of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools said he's aware of a very prominent school where 23 out of about 100 teachers are leaving, with another institution due to lose 16 educators. Wright, who is also principal of the William Knibb Memorial High School in Trelawney, said 11 of the 63 teachers at his school have resigned.
All right, with us now is economist Mr. Kevin Ramnarine. He's speaking on the issue as it's presented to us, what is said to be the worst period of economic contraction in Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Are you hearing me?
Yes, very well.
Okay, good morning, Andy.
Morning.
Always good to be back here on WESN.
All right, so let's talk us through it. What is said to be the worst period of economic contraction in the country? What are the numbers saying? How do you come by that?
Well, you know, when we look at the 60-year history, because we are marking independence, 60th anniversary of independence next week, Wednesday. When we look at that, I've been doing a lot of research. In fact, I've contributed to a chapter in a book on the 60 years of Trinidad's independent history. And when we look at the 60-year period, 62 to 2022, we've had two really difficult periods of economic contraction. The first one being 1983 to 1989, which you will be familiar with, and I will be familiar with, but the young people will not be familiar with. And the second period of serious economic and sustained economic contraction is the period 2016 to 2021, which of course is more familiar with us. So in the first period, of course, just for the whole purposes of the historical reflection, given the time that we are in with independence next week, the first period was really driven by two factors. One was the falling oil production in Trinidad, and the second one would have been the falling oil prices in the early 1980s to the late 1980s. And essentially what has happened in the more contemporary period, 2016 to 2021, we've had a fall in gas production that's been pretty precipitous. And we've had a concomitant fall in prices. Of course, there's been some rebound in prices in the last 6 to 8 months. But those are two periods that have really shaped. And I think when we reflect on the economy, it is obvious that the state of the economy, the health of the economy, reflects on the social condition of Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, in the first period of downturn, that ended with the 1990 coup. And those of us who know the dynamics of the 1990 attempted coup would know that you cannot divorce what happened in 1990 from the economic circumstances of the country at the time. I'm not saying that this is where we're going to end up in 2022 or 2023, because we still, although we have had a period of 6 years of decline, a depression, we still have quite a lot of what they call fiscal space. I think Mr. Robinson had run out of fiscal space pretty quickly in his term as Prime Minister, and by 1987...
Well, he had none. The first statement he made as Prime Minister...
Treasury is empty.
On the paper that the Treasury is empty.
Treasury is empty. So Mr. Imbert and Dr. Rowley still have fiscal space in terms of their ability to borrow, in terms of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. And as the Minister of Finance points out, we still have about 8 months of import cover. Import cover in 1987 had gone to 1 month. We still have, I think it's about 7 to 8 months of import cover. So the two periods are different periods, but I think it's important for us to reflect on the 60-year journey of the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. Many of the young people, I would think, born in the 1990s, would be in their 20s and 30s now, would not know a lot of this history. But it's important for us as a country, and I'm not seeing the reflection taking place. I'm seeing, I'm not seeing the reflection on the economy taking place, because the economy is essentially what sustains us, and to a large extent, the health of the energy sector really is the health of the economy, and the health of the economy is the health of the social condition of Trinidad and Tobago. So
by reflection, you mean that there should be more people talking about it and trying to sensitize the rest of us to what the possibilities are, and to talk about how we get out of it and when?
Well, I think so. And I'm not advertising here for Dr. Farrell this morning, but I was reading his book right before we came on the set, The Underachieving Society, where he tries to explain why we have underachieved. And he's also done a very good TED Talk on this. And he speaks to the whole issue of culture, and the whole issue of, maybe we like it so, and the whole issue of the carnival mentality. And he even goes into Naipaul, and he talks about the mimic men, and he goes into Frantz Fanon, and he talks about the post-colonial elites and so on.
Yeah, in fact, we like it so with a question mark was the title of his book after that, not so?
Yes, that was the follow-up book after which I still have to get. But we haven't done badly, Andy. As you know, when you look around other countries that have gotten independence from the colonial powers in the 1950s and 1960s and 1970s, by and large, we haven't done badly within that cohort of countries. But given what this country was endowed with naturally, given the fact that of the 9, and I'm using very exact numbers, we have produced since 1908, we have produced about 9.95 billion barrels of oil and natural gas. And the term we use is oil and gas equivalent to account for the natural gas production. What is startling is that 90% of that production has taken place in the last 60 years. So the majority of the asset that we've removed from under the earth and brought it to the surface and given it value and exported it to the far corners of the earth was produced by independent Trinidad and Tobago. And I think one of the questions that we have to ask very soberly in this independence reflection is that have we achieved the full potential? And, as I said, I'm doing a lot of reading on Eric Williams's speeches and Mr. Robinson's speeches as Minister of Finance, because you would recall he was Minister of Finance from 1961 to 1966. And there was this very ambitious group of young men who would have formed the first government of Trinidad and Tobago in 1962. Of course, they would have been there since 1956, when Dr. Williams became the Chief Minister and later the Premier. But, have we lived up to the expectation of those very ambitious young men, people like Dr. Williams, people like Mr. Robinson, people like Digicel, who was one of the, the unsung heroes of the architecture, in terms of building the architecture of the economy of this country. And
J. O'Neill Lewis and Eugene Moore.
Yes.
People like that.
Have we lived up as a people to the high expectations that they had held for us? And in reading Dr. Williams' speeches, he always refers to, and there's a paper he wrote in a journal in 1969, because although Dr. Williams was the Prime Minister of the country, he was still pretty much an active academic while he was Prime Minister.
He's writing books and so on.
Writing books, and there's a journal article he wrote in 1969 where he said that, his objective was to reduce the foreign influence on the direction of the economy of Trinidad and Tobago, and to unleash the potential of the people and the resources of Trinidad and Tobago so that we could realize our maximum potential. Certainly he set about on a course of nationalization after 1969, and it accelerated after 1973 when he had the money to accomplish it. And interestingly, Digicel was the main person behind a lot of those negotiations with the exiting multinationals, Bank of London and Montreal, Shell, and so on. And so the objective, has the objective been achieved? Have we come close to the achieving the full potential?
What would you say, yes or no?
I would say no. When you look at the condition of the country today, where murders are heading to 600 murders for the year, could be more. When you look at the condition of the economy that we've contracted, our GDP per capita should really be somewhere in the high 20s. Our GDP per capita is about 15,000 US per capita. We should really be about 30,000 US per capita.
If we were to make a comparison between ourselves and say, Venezuela and other energy-based economies in different parts of the world, where would we stand?
I would put us, in fact, I was asked this question in Guyana actually 5 years ago, and I would put Trinidad and Tobago slightly, if I was to give a grade, I would give Trinidad and Tobago a B. I would give Venezuela F, because clearly Venezuela, they are where they are, but there are countries like Norway, and I hate to use the Norway example because it's a much beaten example. There are countries like Norway, there are countries like, I would say, Malaysia and Abu Dhabi and so on that have done very well. But in reflecting on our economy, we have to understand that we are not Norway. Norway is a country of 5 million people, and it's a for all intents and purposes, an ethnically homogeneous society. I mean, they're all basically white. 5 million people in Norway are all of essentially one race. Countries like Kuwait and Abu Dhabi and Qatar and so on are not democracies. Those are still kingdoms. So Trinidad and Tobago, in terms of oil and gas producing countries, is unique in that we are one, small, two, an open economy. You couldn't get a more open economy than Trinidad and Tobago. And three, a democracy, and a very robust and lively democracy. So that in itself differentiates us from all those other oil and gas producing countries in the world.
Including Venezuela. Venezuela is not a democracy.
Venezuela is not, for all intents and purposes, it's an autocracy. And they have had a different history than us. So we haven't done badly. We have had some great achievements. We have, in terms of the economy, I mean, although we are not in the best situation today, we remain in 2022 the largest economy in the Caribbean, and the largest economy by some distance. The second largest economy being Jamaica. From my reflection on my research, we surpassed Jamaica. We became the largest economy in the Caribbean in 1976, when Jamaica was on a downward trend, and we were clearly in 1976, we were on an upward trend. Those were good years for Trinidad and Tobago. So we have not done badly, but I don't think that we have achieved the potential, considering the natural endowments And considering the fact that, you know, we have some of the most talented and educated people in probably in the Commonwealth, in Trinidad and Tobago. And as you know, I mean, anybody who travels the world will tell you that Trinidadians have excelled on a global scale.
All right, so the extent to which people are making these comparisons between that period, 86 to 90, and what you know, where we ended up in the end of 1990, and now, and people are saying that what we're going through now resembles that, and therefore suggesting that it's ominous that things could happen. Making, if we're talking about the social condition, can we survive the possibilities of going back in that way, that there will be rumbling on the streets such that we will be reminded of that period, or we could ride this out?
I think the Minister of Finance is trying to ride it out. He's trying to, you know, continually kick the can down the road and until election. But, you know, I reflected on something recently. This is, and I know you are from that part of the country, Palasico. I reflected on this, and, you know, I said to myself, Andy, ours is a country that can boast of exporting liquefied natural gas to Europe and to Asia. We send LNG cargoes to Japan and as far as Lithuania and now to Jamaica and so on. But in the context, when you look at that, on the one hand, a 7-year-old child dies in a shack in the forest in Palasico. And you begin to use those two extremes now to ask fundamentally what is wrong and how could we have failed that child? Because the death of that child.
The fact is, we failed her mother, and you know, and that's.
We failed the mother. We failed. So, I have been, you know, it has been very painful to read those stories about how that child ended. And I know Palasico is a part of the country that both you and I would be familiar with, more so you. But to me, we have to answer that question. Michael Manley had made a statement in the early 1980s about money passing through Trinidad like a dose of salt.
Yeah.
But I don't think people read the full statement. Everybody talks about the dose of salts one-liner. I actually got view of the full statement. And he went on to say that he was seeing in 1980 expensive cars. I can't remember the name of the brand of a car that he referred to. Whether it was Mercedes-Benz, but he said that, and there were potholes everywhere, but yet still they were driving these high-end cars in Trinidad. And you know, you begin to ask yourself the question, what has changed? Because clearly the pothole situation in Trinidad is unbearable.
Yeah.
And clearly you look at the roads, people are driving Range Rovers, and we've gone now beyond the Mercedes-Benz.
There's a story in the paper yesterday saying that there's a high demand for Porsche and so on.
Yeah, so people are driving Porsche into the potholes. And so those are some of my reflections. Yeah. You know, I think there's a lot I think we need to have these discussions.
All right.
If we are to progress.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to have to leave it there. We're up at 7 o'clock. We're going to do the news. And when we come back, we talk over the history of what is now the University of the Southern Caribbean. It started at the Caribbean Union College. We'll trace, to some extent, the journey from then to now. Stay with us. This is AM Prime on this Tuesday morning.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I am Marky Sakers. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. ASTT Director slams government treatment of agriculture sector. ASTT head commends government for efforts made. Man gunned down in Maloney. And internationally, UK inflation could hit 18% next year on rising energy bills, bank warns. Now for the details. Director of the Agriculture Society of Trinidad and Tobago, Shafraz Ali, says he proposed a motion that the ASTT should not be part of the Agri-Forum due to the disrespect by the Minister of Agriculture and Government. Speaking on WESN ZM Prime on Monday, he said that the motion was defeated and the ASTT still had a booth at the expo.
I, Shafraz Ali, did not agree with the participation inside the expo because of the reasons that I would have given just now there. And yeah, I feel strongly about it. $8 million the government utilized to host that event when we have a plethora of problems outside here for farmers, right? We have land tenure issues. Farmers can't get leases on time. We have infrastructure, serious infrastructure issues outside here. They have a number of irrigation channels blocked.
Meanwhile, the president of the Agricultural Society, Dara Rampasad, has distanced himself and the society from protests, which involved one of his members and the use of the society's logo that took place during the opening ceremony of the Agri-Investment Forum and Expo. Mr. Rampasad claims that the member took it upon themselves to protest, and what transpired was not the view of the Agricultural Society.
Well, what took place there is that member of the organization took it upon themselves with other members of a certain political party, right, to take action on the said day and have that protest there. However, the comments made there didn't come from the Agriculture Society, nor was the protest orchestrated by the Agriculture Society. However, the logo seemed to have been used there to get the voice outside there.
Mr. Rampasad acknowledges that there are issues within the sector, but gave the government a high rating over what he sees as efforts being made.
We know that there are issues in agriculture that needs to be attended to, but I don't think that was the place and time for such a action to take place, because at the same time we saw where the government is making an effort into investment into agriculture. So as I say, the ASTT fully supports expansion, improvement and investment in terms of agriculture, and we'll still give the event an A as we also participated in the said event.
The murder toll continues to soar, this time with the killing of a man in Maloney. Reports say 39-year-old Damian Danclair was shot and killed at building number 7, Janaka Avenue. The incident occurred just after 1 a.m. on Monday. This killing took the murder toll to 374 for the year thus far. In international news, rising energy prices could push UK inflation above 18% next year, the highest rate in nearly 50 years, a major bank has predicted. Inflation, the rate at which prices rise, hit 10.1% in July, which is 5 times the Bank of England's target. Investment bank Citi, which made the forecast, said inflation was entering the stratosphere. The Bank of England has previously said inflation will rise to more than 13% in the coming months. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I am Marky Sakers. Thanks for watching.
Welcome to the American University of Barbados School of Medicine. We offer 2 comprehensive MD programs, 5.5-year program for high school finishers and 4-year program for college graduates. The American University of Barbados has been accredited with the Barbados Accreditation Council, BAC, and has been accredited by CAMHP. As the medical school has affiliate hospitals at Baltimore and Chicago in the USA and the Caribbean islands.
All right, welcome back to the program. Let's just tell you this. In a couple of days from now, August 26th and 27th to be exact, the University of, what is called now the University of the Southern Caribbean, they will celebrate the 95th anniversary. It's a 2-day event themed the making of a metaverse, reflect, connect, and impact. It will commemorate these 9.5 decades of what is called transformative excellence, rooted in holistic education, research and regional development, long-standing musical legacy, cultural diversity and spiritual nurture. And it goes on to present the list of activities that will take place there and the reasoning behind it. To talk with us about that now, the president of the USC, Dr. Colwick Wilson. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. I'm very privileged to be here this morning, and good morning to all your listeners.
All right. Well, thanks. Give us a sense of the journey over these 95 years, because it used to be known as the Southern Academy at one point, and then it got the Caribbean Union College, as a matter of fact, and then it changed the name over a period of time. Let's talk a little bit about that, where it has come from to now.
Yes, in 1927, August 27th, the university, what is now known as the University of the Southern Caribbean, began. At first, it was not called, as you would imagine, the University of the Southern Caribbean, but Eastern Caribbean Training School. And from that beginning, it moved into a number of names, then became a Caribbean Union College, which is probably the more popular name. And then 16 years ago, it changed its name when it gained university status to the University of the Southern Caribbean. So from 1927 to 2022, 95 years in Maracas Valley, we continue to strive to provide excellence in education, but from a holistic perspective.
Yeah. And I can tell you that I have a very close relative from my home village who went to school there and in a sense never returned home because she remained tethered to the institution all these years. Her name is Rosalind Haynes. So she's somebody with whom I identify that place. Now it is transformed, and a couple of her brothers went there as well from where I'm from in Trinidad and Tobago. So the making of a metaverse, reflect, connect, and impact. Let's talk a little bit about what the program is.
Well, so the University of the Southern Caribbean has over 30,000 alumni. And over the years, we have sought to continue to connect with our alumni, because we believe that from our alumni, we get the best messages. And so this weekend, we will be celebrating our 95th anniversary. What happens over the weekend is an exciting series of events. We begin by unveiling an unveiling ceremony that captures what we have how far we have come from. And that unveiling ceremony will be on Friday and this week. And we're looking forward to a ceremony that reminds us of our past and encourages us as we move into the future. And so that Friday evening then takes us into Friday morning takes us into a Friday evening Vesper, what we call a Vesper service. And in that Vesper service, we have one of our distinguished alumni who will be the featured speaker. On Saturday, where we celebrate and worship, we have another distinguished alumni who will be speaking with us, who is currently an assistant professor at Howard University, Dr. Alexander. And she will be our keynote speaker during the service. But then at 5 p.m. in the afternoon, we have a celebration, a free concert where we'll celebrate our anniversary. And it is also dubbed as a fundraising concert for USC in our main auditorium in Maracas Valley. So we're excited for what will happen over this weekend. Lots of alumni from all around the world will be tuning in. They're excited about this opportunity just to reflect and reconnect and to celebrate in a special way the blessings that we've received nested here in the Valley.
Yeah, and when you talk about distinguished alumni, and then you talked about Howard University, I thought you were going to mention Dr. Wayne Frederick, who is the president of Howard University, who's a distinguished alumni, right?
Well, not of USC, but a distinguished son of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
So we're happy that he's there and has been doing a great job over the years.
But yes. Why did I associate him with USC then?
Well, he has spoken here on the campus a number of times.
I see.
And he's a friend of USC.
I see. Okay.
So in that sense.
All right. So
but we would claim him as one of our distinguished alumni if we could.
Easily. Explain what a Vesper's service is might be.
A Vesper, we have Vesper service every Friday evening, and so we believe in the celebration of the seventh day Sabbath. So from sunset Friday to sundown Saturday afternoon, evening, we celebrate the Sabbath. So on Friday evening, we come together for what we call a Vesper service. It's a service of reflection on what has happened during the week, and as we enter into a period of rest from our normal kinds of activity. Rest that we know and believe that is associated with all kinds of benefits to our health and well-being. So that will be the Vesper service where people will come together just to reflect, connect, and to review the impact of the university in our lives.
Yeah. Can we go back a bit over these 95 years and talk about the founding of the institution in the first place and some of the milestones as it grew from what it was then into a university?
Yes, and one of the things that was very pivotal about USC is that when it started in 1927, there were 5 founding teachers and maybe just 1 student. Actually, of the 5 founding teachers, 1 of them was born in Princeton. She was the only Caribbean founder among the group, Miss Linda Austin, who up to today continues to be one of our well-known and well-established and respected professors. And so when it was founded then, it was founded from the perspective of trying to provide an opportunity for young believers who would have the opportunity to come to the campus and actually have a different kind of experience. Academics, yes, but it was grounded in a lot of physical work. So people were encouraged to get involved in work on the farm, in trades, and all of those aspects that were very relevant at the time. And it was from that perspective that the church, the Adventist church, was able to, over time, develop a number of academic programs to meet the needs of the church and society. And so once we moved from East Caribbean Training School in 1927 to Caribbean Training College in 29, to Caribbean Union College in 1956, and now the University of Southern Caribbean beginning in 2006. We continue to focus on academics, and while doing that, we are mindful of the spiritual ethos of our students. Because here's what we believe. We believe not only in training and providing education for 4 years or for 5 years, but we believe that this education will last for 40 years or 50 years, for a lifetime. We believe in transformative education. And as a result of that, we have spread our wings. And so now we have 2 extension campuses in Trinidad and Tobago, one in San Fernando and one in Tobago. And then we have 4 satellite campuses, one in Antigua, one in Barbados, one in St. Lucia, and the other in Guyana. And of course, we are fully accredited by the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago and by the Adventist Accrediting Association. And because of that, we are able to offer a number of programs. And let me just say, we're grateful to GATE for its continued funding of those GATE-approved programs. And so we offer a broad range of courses and programs, over 40 of them, and just about 10 graduate programs that allow us to meet the needs of our students as they try to contribute to society.
Right, and in the introduction I mentioned a high school in San Fernando, the Southern Academy, and it's the Southern Academy of the Seventh-day Adventists, right? And so that has been around for a while as well. So people could have gone to high school there and then come to Maracas and Joseph, right?
Yes, we do have a system that allows students to go from elementary to high school or academy and then to USC. And the Southern Academy is one of our stronger programs, and we celebrate the work that they continue to do there in San Fernando. But interestingly, we have a primary school on the campus. And we do have a secondary school on the campus.
In Maracas,
so right here on the campus, we have primary, secondary, and college, university.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about, to what extent you know as to why that location and that locale and those surroundings in Maracas and Joseph was chosen to set up what was then the CUC?
Yeah, we call it Miracle Valley because we think its beginnings started from a miracle. The early pioneers were looking for a place for us to have the school. And historically, when you look, there was some objections to us starting the school in Trinidad. And it was amazing that an individual who owned the La Realista property at the time called up the early pioneers and said, we want you to have this property to begin your school. And so we think that it started as a miracle. We're looking for a rural place, a place with land, a place where students can learn to use their hands as they develop their heart connection and their soul connection. So we talk about head, heart, and hand. And it was from that call that our pioneers got that we were introduced to this gentleman who actually sold us the property here in Maracas Valley.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the atmosphere there and what it contributes to the learning environment and the development of people who go there.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I came to USC about 9 months ago, and that was in the midst of the pandemic. So I hadn't had the experience of seeing students on campus en masse. So you can imagine how excited I am to meet them in September, early September. But the good thing is that I'm a graduate of USC, and I do recall how it was. And from time to time, I've been connected with the university and would come back on campus. And what happens on this campus is a closely knitted environment where students do reside in our two residence halls. We have a men's residence hall and a ladies' residence hall. We also have a married students complex. And what happens is that because of the spiritual ethos and the core beliefs that we share in terms of excellence in education and the values of love and compassion, and all of those values that come together as we share this common, as we strive to share this common ethos, allow us to have these common passions and similar goals in the midst of a diverse population. And that's fascinating. And so if you come on the campus, you will find it not a large campus in my experience, but it's so connected by the energy of the students who are here on campus that you find yourself in a very friendly environment. It's almost as if you're part of the family, the University of the Southern Caribbean family. So there's a family feeling, there's a family atmosphere. There are smaller classes, faculty care for students in an intimate way, almost as if they're their surrogate parents. And so it's exciting. You should come on campus one of these days. I must invite you to come.
Yeah, I've been there on a couple of occasions to participate in debates, the debate at least, and a couple of other occasions that I've been there, but I don't mind coming back at all.
Well, you're welcome. The more often you come back, it's better for us. So we would appreciate that.
Yeah. So we're celebrating the 95th anniversary of the founding of the school and so on. In looking ahead, what do you see as plans going forward to make changes, to do things differently? If at all, difference is a term that you use in your planning and forward thinking.
Yeah, we are convinced that USC has a very significant role to play in Trinidad and Tobago, and certainly beyond in the Caribbean region. So we strive to go beyond excellence. And so, for example, we're continuing to support our students through scholarships, but we're seeking to advance and expand our academic offerings. Our nursing program, for example, is one of our signature programs, one of our larger, it is our largest program. And we are seeking to develop the technology that will allow the nursing program to be highly competitive. One of the things that we are doing is to have partnerships with a number of sister universities and other universities in the region and beyond. And so we are developing partnerships with a number of these universities to enhance our offerings and the quality of what we do. We seek to develop a campus that will allow us to shed this light, because we talk about USC being the light of the Caribbean. And so moving forward, we are seeking to expand our academic offerings, and we are seeking to expand them across the region.
Yeah, but you see, for now, nursing tends to get the greatest amount of attraction. So more people come there to do nursing than other things.
Yeah, that's correct. It is our largest program, and we don't have the capacity to meet the demand, which we hope to do differently in that regard. But we do have a number of schools. So we have the nursing program and allied health, which is in the School of Science and Technology. We do have a strong school in terms of education and humanities. And we have a history of a legacy of a strong teacher education program. And our music program is beyond comparison, I would say. Our choral work is well known and well established. We do have, historically, one of our main schools is the School of Theology and Religion, which continues to be at the heart of what we do. We do have a School of Business and Entrepreneurship, which allows us to train a number of students. We have graduate programs in that school, including an MBA, and a number of local students have been trained at this school. I must say that the School of Social Sciences is another strong area where we provide a number of training in those areas in the social sciences that are both relevant and needed in our society, especially given what we've gone through and continue to experience from COVID-19. So we seek to have a broad-based education that will allow for a match between the curriculum and what happens in the real world, what happens in industries.
Yeah. What can you say? What do you know about the extent to which the alumni over these decades continue to sort of cherish their relationship with the school, having gone there? What's the strength of the alumni organization, as far as you know?
Our alumni are deeply committed. I was just reading this morning about an alumni event that they had just recently. And so we have alumni groups all over the world. Most of them are in the Caribbean region, because the University of Southern Caribbean actually, in its catchment area, services about 24 different countries and islands. So we have alumni all across the Eastern Caribbean, up into South America, Suriname and Guyana, and around the region and around the world. We have a strong network of alumni in North America. And so in a number of the major cities, we have alumni chapters. And we do have a National Alumni Association. Just last evening, I think they were doing their elections for officers for the National Alumni Association. So our alumni are deeply committed. And as an alumnus, I can tell you, our hearts are buried deep in this valley, because it was from this valley that a lot of us have gotten our start. And we have gone to all of the major universities in the world that you can think of. And a number of our alumni are working all across the world, all across the region, in very significant positions. So we look forward to them over this weekend to join us again as we celebrate 95 years in Maracas Valley, or what I call Miracle Valley.
All right, good talking to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Andy, and looking forward to talking with you again.
Certainly, and we hope, our hope is that the event comes off as splendidly as you all expect it would be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You're very welcome. Well, that will bring the curtain down on our program for this morning. We want to thank you for watching. We want to thank all our guests and tell you that in half an hour, there'll be news at the top of the hour, followed by today's edition of Talking Point, which is small, but for now, we're done here. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
WESN.